Okay, so we were talking about Palestrina, and we are going to listen to his music. I did want to point out one other thing. These composers that we will be featuring throughout the semester really have led quite interesting lives. One of the things I wanted to point out about Palestrina is that during the years 1570 to about 1580, he really suffered a great deal of loss. He lost his wife, two of his sons, and his brother to the plague, actually. And it ended up, of course, being a really terrible loss for him. But later on in his life, he actually ended up remarrying. And this particular lady was quite wealthy. So he was able to go on and collaborate and write as much as he wanted to. Because he was now unrestrained in his pocketbook as well, because these composers really weren't paid all that well by the church, so this allowed him a lot of freedom to be able to write a lot more music. Now let's go on and listen to this Pope Marcellus Mass, and I just need to get to where we are here. So what you need to be listening for in this particular piece of music is, first of all, there are no instruments. It's considered to be a cappella, which is a word you're going to hear me use a lot throughout the semester, which means no instruments of any kind. It is really kind of the culmination of balance and symmetry. There's never really a note out of place. It's very even. We see that if there's a dissonance, there's a consonant that balances that out. The other thing to really think about is its text setting. It generally has one note per syllable because Palestrina really wanted you to be able to hear the words. Now the words are in Latin, so they still may sound foreign to us, but we are able to understand more of the text. If we listen carefully, we can follow along with the text and really understand those words. So most of the text setting is going to be what we call syllabic, which is one note per syllable. And another important feature is something called homorhythm. It means that most of the time your voices are going to be moving together in the same rhythm. And that also helps us understand the words more clearly because they are saying the words at the same time together. We're going to listen to the very beginning and actually to the very end. At the beginning of this piece of music, we have one singer expressing the opening remark, Gloria in excelsis Deo, and then we hear the rest of the chorus come in afterwards. Now we can hear how smooth it is. That's what I'm really talking about when I talk about symmetry and balance, that nothing really sticks out. It's supposed to be smooth. It's supposed to sound that way. Even when we have a crescendo, when things begin to get louder, it still is very balanced. It doesn't come out all of a sudden and strike you as like, whoa, oh my gosh, all of a sudden that turned loud. No, he really kind of builds up to that, and that's that idea of symmetry there. When we listen to the end of the piece, the song is going to slow down, and that's in preparation for the end of the piece. And he will use all six voices. The thing about this piece that's interesting is he really vacillates between, at the beginning where we have one voice, and we can go all the way up to the six voices. But if you'll notice in your listening guide, the yellow guide, the middle column of this is actually, let's see, I think it's right here. The middle column is the number of voices. So we see that the number of voices changes throughout the piece. we actually end with the full complement of voices, all 6 voices here at the end. So let's take a listen to the end of the piece and notice how he prepares us for the end. You can definitely tell the end is coming by the way he slows down and prepares the music. I absolutely love how all of the voices prepare each other. You'll hear one voice move up, another voice move down. They're moving independently of one another to create this sense of perfect harmony where we end on the final chord there. So this is what you're going to be taking your first inquisitive on. So make sure that you go and look at this focus here, listen to it, and then when you're ready to take it, you can launch the quiz from here, or you may launch it also from our Unit 2 folder as well. And then finally, we have chapter 19, which makes me super happy because now we get to talk about instrumental music. This is how I make my living in the music world. Obviously, playing the French horn, instrumental music is going to be at the forefront of my mind. And the unfortunate thing about the Middle Ages and the Renaissance is that there's not a lot of surviving instrumental music from this period of time, because we know that the church was the main patron up until the end of the Middle Ages and moving into the Renaissance. And so their focus was on a cappella vocal music. We don't really know a lot about whether and when instrumental music was used in the church. We know at some point that it was, because the Council of Trent mandated that they stop using them. So we know that there is some, they must have used it in some form, but we don't exactly know how. What we do know is that in the secular world, there was quite a bit of instrumental music going on. We have 2 different groups of instrumental music, or instrument types, excuse me. We have our soft, which is bass, B-A-S, and then loud, H-A-U-T, hot. The recorder and the lute and the rebec, those are going to be your softer instruments. And then we have something actually so funny. It's called the sackbut, which is an early trombone. The cornetto is an early trumpet. Some of these are very interesting looking, and they have some really cool sounds. This might be something you'd like to explore for your wiki, because there's some great websites out there that feature some of these early instruments. Now, the other thing that's kind of important to point out about these instruments is we are a long way from the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century. And even from the more standardized 18th and 17th century violins, this is earlier music. We are talking about instruments that really aren't standardized. So I guess what I'm getting at is they have kind of some unusual sounds. They aren't the most in-tune instruments in the world. Some of them are kind of blatty. Some of them might be reedy sounding, but they really are very cool and interesting instruments. We're going to take a listen to those when we listen to our listening guide here. And I wanted to show you this picture because this is what they were actually doing in the courts at the time. They used this music to dance, which made me really happy. Because these people are out having a good time, dancing, enjoying each other's company, and they have some great musicians that are providing the music for them. So let's take a little listen to this last listening guide in our Unit 2. You'll notice that There are many different little dance numbers in here. We have 3 dance numbers altogether. We won't listen to them all, but listen to the beginning of this and you can clearly hear what I was talking about with those instruments sounding rather unusual. Okay, so that began the second section. You can take a listen to this. I think it's really fun. If you have kids, they might be interested in hearing this music. They might even dance around to it because it's lively and engaging, and to me it comes right out of a period movie. It's really fantastic. So this is the end of our Unit 2, and so we will be moving on to the Baroque for the Unit 3 study.